Belfoy, your cheerleader of dreams. I pray that as you invest in yourself today, you're captivated and you're catapulted to live your dreams. If you've never subscribed to the podcast, just push the little red button to get consistent teaching, tools, and tips to help you live your dreams. Today, I want to talk to you about something very interesting, and it could be for you or for a friend, or it might even be one of those podcasts that you come back to in the future because you need direction or wisdom for a certain season of your life. I want to talk to you about one surprising thing you must do to succeed. You know, I developed this message after seeking God about some things in my own life about a year ago. I was literally miserable inside, and I needed God's wisdom about what to do. Do I keep doing what I'm doing? Do I quit something that I thought God wanted me to do? Does that mean I'm a quitter if I quit? If winners never quit and quitters never win, then am I a loser if I quit? Well, I found a podcast online by a success coach where he discussed that he had interviewed the top performers in nearly every field. And after 3 years of research, he discovered that they all had a pattern of quitting. I thought, what? He said, yes, they quit the wrong things fast. Unsuccessful people stay in the wrong things for fear of looking like a failure. Successful people try new things all the time, but when they sense it's wrong, or the season's over, they quit, and they quit fast. Well, then I came across this article about misconceptions of quitting. Now, let me just discuss 5 of them real quick. 5 misconceptions about quitting. Misconception number 1 is quitting means opting to lose. Not at all. See, you only really lose if you invest your time in things that are meaningless to you. Misconception number 2 is quitting means you're taking the easy way out. That's not necessarily true either. Quitting actually takes a lot of courage. It can actually be a bigger risk than staying in this thing. Not quitting something is sometimes the easier way out. Misconception number 3, quitting means you're not going to be successful. Not at all. See, conscious quitting is all about achieving success in your life. The kind of success you want to see in your life is success in what you're passionate about. Misconception number 4, quitting means you're fickle and unclear about what you want. Quite the opposite. See, when you consciously quit something, that occurs now because you precisely know what you do want to do. You can't quit unless you know what you want. So if you choose to remain in something despite knowing that there's something else you'd rather be doing, that's being fickle. Misconception number 5, the last one I'll share, is quitting means to waste the money, time, and energy that have already been invested in the task. Well, think about it this way. The resources you have invested thus far have helped you realize that you want to quit. So they're not wasted because they enabled you to learn this lesson. It's choosing to stay on a meaningless task or an endeavor. That's when you're really wasting your money, your time, and your energy. So I began to discover that successful people don't quit without giving 100% effort, being fully engaged in every endeavor. However, if they're still miserable or they feel something is just missing, high performers know it's time to get out. And see, when it's the wrong thing, when God's done with a season of your life, you start waking up miserable, you're irritable to be around, you're just kind of going through the motions, you're not engaged, you dread doing this thing. I'm telling you today, there may be some things that you need to cut from your life because God is finished with that. You've learned what you need to learn, and He's ready to do a new thing. So I want to challenge you, be decisive today. You know, inside, you probably already know what to do. In fact, if anything's already been rolling around in your head or in your spirit, you already know. Get out of those things that bore you, depress you, irritate you, make you miserable, and start being on the lookout for things that cause you to get up excited and ready to brainstorm and be passionate about life again. And let me just point out, you may not know that which makes you come alive until you entertain the thought of leaving that which is boring you. Think about that. I mean, really think about those words. And let me just give you a few indicators that this season could be over. One indicator is when what you're doing is not your passion. Another one is when you've learned what you need to learn from this endeavor. Another one is when there's no peace about it. Another is when you're miserable or bored, like we've been discussing. Another is when there's something better you could be doing instead. And then the last one here is when you've tried your very best, you've given your all, and there's still no passion. The worst thing you can do is not quit. Not quitting could be losing, right? And in fact, just for an example, you think about Chip and Joanna Gaines, HGTV's Fixer Upper. Do you know what they did? They quit. Well, Success Magazine went to Waco, Texas to interview them and discuss their courage to do something that bold. They announced that they were leaving their mega hit show at the height of its popularity. They quit. Think about that. Now in its 5th season, the show is the most successful series in HGTV history. They said it premiered to like 1.3 million viewers back in 2013. Well, last year, their premiere of season 4 pulled in 3.4 million viewers, the largest cable audience that night. Why would they quit? Well, Chip said in an interview, he said, Joe and I just realized in our hearts that as much as we love Fixer Upper, as much as we love the honor that we have felt with this show, basically introducing them to the country, if not the world, he said, we want to make sure that we're here for our family during their crucial, pivotal points in the journey. He said, they made this bold decision to end their show at the peak of its popularity. Now, with 15,000 to 35,000 visitors coming from out of state flocking to Magnolia Market in Waco each week, this decision could have a major impact on the city's economy. Well, Chip said, despite the fact that this is extremely risky and maybe even a little bit irresponsible, he said, I feel like it's going to be the right decision for our family moving forward. He said, we've prayed about it, we've thought about it, and we really feel optimistic that they've made the right choice. Well, let me just say, not everybody's going to agree with your decision to quit something when you feel it's time to quit. So what is quitting really? Well, from an objective point of view, it means to release, to stop, to let go of something you're doing. And it could be even temporarily for a season. When Brendan Burchard interviewed high performers, he said they didn't quit because everybody around them thought this is a great idea. He said most people think it's crazy. Well, last summer, I went to my dad's house and it was Labor Day weekend, and I was just asking for wisdom about what I should do. And he started telling me a story about himself years ago, how he was praying about quitting so many things that he was doing in his organization. With their ministry, he had a prison outreach, a church, a Bible school, a Christian school, a daycare. So many outreaches. He said there was a need and he met it, but it wasn't his passion. Well, he went to the lake to get away with the Lord and just began praying and seeking God. He said he was reading the book of Ephesians and 2 words in this scripture stood out to him, and they weren't even put together, but it was the word compact and increase. And he just felt the Lord tell him, compact what you're doing and you'll increase. And that's exactly what happened. He merged his school with another school, his church with another church, his prison outreach with another prison ministry, and he focused on his passions. He quit some things and the increase came. Major point. Sometimes it's just the wrong time. In fact, I heard Joyce Meyer tell a story. She said years ago she went on television at the wrong time, and in 6 months she got 1 piece of mail. 1 piece of mail! 10 years later, after being on radio, 150 stations, she went back on TV. The Lord told Dave, I've prepared you all this time for TV, and if you don't take this opportunity, it'll pass you by. And look what God has done in her TV outreach. Sometimes it's just the wrong time. Well, personally, I sat down and I asked myself a bunch of questions. I typed them out and I answered them. And let me just say real quick, clarity comes from questions. So I want to encourage you, ask yourself a bunch of questions. Sit down, get out a sheet of paper and ask questions. Determine the answer to questions like, when was the last time this made you come alive? When did you start feeling miserable or something was off? What do you want to do? What would make the situation better? What actions do you need to take to change things? And start making a list of your options. And remember this, no change equals no change. Start identifying the pros and cons of each option. Ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? These are statements, that stood out to me when I was seeking God. Things like, do fewer things more often and get better at them. Or success is determined by what you say no to. Or it's better to be world class at a few things than mediocre at most things. So statements like that. Another question, number 6, is how does the thought of quitting this make me feel? Does the thought of releasing it liberate you? Or do you immediately feel lighter, more optimistic about pursuing other things? Another question, what would you advise yourself to do if someone asked you? What would you tell your friend if they were in that same situation? And you know what? The moment I decided to quit something, the heaviness was lifted. I felt like I could just breathe again. I was excited to go to the office. I was eager to learn and to brainstorm new things. So bottom line, there are times in life when to win means to quit. One surprising thing you must do to succeed is quit. Quit the wrong things so you can fully embrace the right things. And remember this, endings are also new beginnings. So I hope you enjoyed that today. I want to mention real quick, our YouTube subscriber of the week is Pamela Maheen, or maybe it's just Mean. I'm not sure, but Pamela, I want to thank you for writing in. She says, thank you, Terry. It's been a month that I've been following you, and since then, I haven't stopped. Little by little, I am seeing changes in my life, and the affirmations have brought back confidence and faith. I know by the end of this year, I will be a totally different person at a different level. Pamela, that is amazing, and that is so true. You will not be the same person just even a month from now. Thank you for writing in, and I encourage all of you to send us your testimony, your story, because we're cheering you on. You know, I firmly believe that not quitting is an admirable trait. I don't want you to get me wrong. I am the cheerleader of dreams who teaches discipline and determination. However, there are some things that you may need to quit or stop doing because God has something different. You know, you may be confused in a certain situation on whether to persevere and not quit, or thinking maybe it's time to do something different. So that's why I put together a free download for you. This will show you the 10 signs that it's time to quit. So all you gotta do is click the link in the description to download 10 signs you need to quit. And I believe this will help you identify what you need to stop, and this trait is gonna show you what God may be calling you towards. So for more consistent motivation, be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. Get the handles below so I can keep you motivated to live your dreams. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Icing means something added to something good.